and 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 power, 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 Monday, power, Monday. It's Power Monday, y'all. Glad to be here with y'all chilling. We gonna make sure we talk about all this killing, and I don't really want to talk about it, but I can't escape it. So we might as well tape it. Try to get some perspective. Be respectful of our brothers and sisters. Make sure we never miss the chance for another teaching and learning moment. We gotta get this thing together. We own it. What up, y'all? How y'all feeling? Urban Therapy with Sun 752, and this is the Daily Go Get 'Em Show. I'm your host, Sun 752. I'm feeling like a real man should, and I hope y'all feeling like real men and women should also. Tonight, I thought that we would talk about something that I think is very important right now, and even though it's something that we put in the mix in plenty of the shows that we do, we haven't really talked about it head on. So tonight we want to ask, who is to blame for all of the violence these days? If you live in the city of Philadelphia, it is so hard to escape the energy of the violence that is going on out here these days. It's crazy. And when I say it's crazy, I mean it's inescapable. Either you're losing a family member to street violence, or you are mourning the loved one of another family, of a family member, of a friend. Someone whose son, daughter, brother, sister, nephew, grandson, granddaughter. It seems like we're all caught up in the finality of the violence. So we're not just talking about a situation where there are fights and dangers of going out there on the streets. We're talking about danger that's leading to the deletion, leading to the elimination of human life out here. It is that serious. And I'm not even the type of person that shows any hesitation or reservation about going out in the streets, about being out in the streets or anything like that. But it's getting to the point where I'm thinking that maybe I need to show more reservation. Maybe I need to be more aware, or to be more apprehensive about the moves that I make. And I don't go out a lot. I'm not a party person. I don't go out to bars or clubs or anything like that. That's not my idea of having a good time. But I want to make sure that I feel safe, and anyone who is around me feels safe when they go out. And even if they go out when I'm not around or I'm not there, there can be a lot of anxiety, especially if you have children, younger children, teenage children, children in their 20s. They are out there in the mix of where a lot of the violence is. It's hard to escape feelings of uneasiness and uncomfortability when on the news every night you are seeing stories of shootings over here, fights over here, stabbings over here, even unorthodox violence, like people being hit by cars or freak accidents that could have been prevented. And you know, when I was a teenager, growing up in the 80s, a lot of the violence that we experienced, the violence, or should I say the violent violence. What I mean by violent violence is the violence couldn't that you couldn't defend yourself against with your hands, that you couldn't walk away from, that you couldn't live another day or fight another day from. I'm talking about that violence. Most of that was perpetrated by people who were wrapped up in the drug gangs and things related to that energy. So that was over money. So we understood exactly how to avoid being caught up in that type of life and in those types of situations. All you had to do was stay away from where drug activity was, and more than likely you were going to be okay. I'm not saying that there were random acts of violence that in which the bullet had names of people that well, maybe they had the wrong names of people that got caught out there in the crossfire and stuff like that. I'm not saying that that didn't happen, because it undisputedly and absolutely did. But nowadays it seems like it's much easier. Back back in the days, people were way more discreet when it came to gun violence than they are now, or that they seem to be now. With our camera phones and stuff like that, we get a whole lot of information, a whole lot of negative information about shootings. If you go on YouTube or if you go on Instagram, I don't know about TikTok, but I know about Facebook and I know about Instagram. And you can see a bunch of little short videos, people getting robbed, people saving themselves from being robbed, all gun violence, gun violence, gun violence. It's crazy. You know, people on back blocks, I mean, defending themselves and committing violent crimes. It just seems like a saturation of information that comes to you, and you can't unsee it. And what I hate most about these little video shorts is that they're sort of like a train wreck. It's really hard to take your eyes off of a train wreck. Just like video after video, shooting after shooting, whether the video shows people actually being shot, a lot of times it shows a whole lot of shooting without anybody being shot. Is that anything to applaud? Is that something to be happy about? I can't say that. I can't say it. What I can say is that we are in very violent times right now, and it's not a good look and it's not a good feeling. That's what I can say. But who's to blame for this? Who is at the forefront of all of this violence? Who do we turn to? Who do we hold accountable? Where's the shelter for this? Where's our protection? And for those of you who have young sons, grandsons, or whatever, how do you sleep at night? How do you rest, or how do you get comfortable while you are awake? Forget about how you sleep at night. How do you get comfortable when you are awake at night, when you send your grandsons, granddaughters, or sons and daughters who may be teenagers or young 20s, whatever, when they go to the store, when they go on vacations, when they take trips out of town, when they go to recreational activities, how do you get comfortable? How do you how do you how are you able to function at home, to just be able to wash the dishes, make dinner, and make plans for your loved ones to come back home, knowing that, man, it could happen to anybody? And unfortunately, it seems like it's happening to just anybody. It seems like it's happening to too many people. So what do? What has been your plan of attack? What has been your mode of being able to relax? Or have we just gotten to the point where we are not relaxing, where we are just hoping for the best, praying for the best, trying to do our best, but really bracing ourselves for the worst? Let's talk about it. What's going on with y'all? How y'all feeling? T Carry Right, morning, noon, and night. It's always great to have my peoples going directly into your side. And Carol Chamberlain, my friend, mi favorita, always a great time. Good to see you. Um, just the other day, as a matter of fact, yesterday, I got a text message from an extended family members, from a friend of the family that's like family, saying that somebody's son, somebody's grandson had been murdered. And I was like, man. And I'm thinking like, dang, man, another person that you have to console, another person that you have to mourn, another person that another notch on somebody's belt for violent activity. So when you say, when you say that somebody is out there in the streets these days, man, that's not a good thing. It's not even a good feeling anymore. You know how, cats nowadays, they'd be like, I'm outside. Ever since the pandemic ended, one of the things to say out here is that you're outside, because during the pandemic, we weren't allowed to come outside, or we weren't encouraged to come outside. COVID outside is where the virus is just waiting to overtake you and take you under. But now we're outside, so that means that we can go to recreational activities. We can take our masks off. One good thing about COVID, and please excuse me for saying this, but one good thing about COVID, or the COVID era, was that we fully understood the dangers of going outside. We fully understood and were forced to respect the environment that was waiting for us outside, the dangers that were posed with us going outside without any PPE. And PPE, those are masks, gloves, proper protective equipment. We understood what the risks were. We understood what the risks were with just shaking hands, giving hugs, being around somebody who's coughing, sneezing, breathing. So there was very little hugging, embracing, much less human contact. But we got it. In solidarity, we were forced to respect what was going on outside, even if we only went outside to go inside to the store or to appointments or of any businesses that were open. For a hot minute, we got it. We understood. You ain't got to say nothing. I get this. I get it. For a hot minute. Now that that's over, now in 2023, when we finally been able to rip the masks off for good, it seems, or at least for the foreseeable future, another problem has been created. It ain't really safe to go outside as it seemed years ago. And much of the violence that I'm talking about was really on blast when we were inside during the pandemic. I don't know if y'all are aware of a lot of the violent activities that were taking place in 2020, besides the whole George Floyd thing, because that was going on, and the violence that was associated with those rallies, and that was a hot summer. It was a very violent summer. So for all the gangsters who said screw COVID, I'm out here, I'm doing my thing or whatever. Well, a lot of violence was going on. There was a lot of violence going on. This is something that we have to deal with. This is a health issue. It's a life issue. It's not something that we can really not take personally or not take seriously. Look at this. Carol Chamberlain, she says hit and runs are at an all-time high in the city. And the reason that we know that is because we see it. We see it on the we see them on videos. And there's a lot of video surveillance, closed circuit videos, video surveillance. We got a lot of those ring what do you call those things? Ring cameras. So we're seeing a whole lot of we're getting a whole lot of different looks about violent activity going on at private residences and also out there and on these public streets. TK Wright says hit and runs are a major concern, Carol. It's no longer just the boulevard or major streets. Yeah, because these hit and runs are a lot of them aren't even accidents. We're not talking about hit and runs like, you get drunk or you're not paying attention and you hit somebody's car, and instead of putting a note on their car and letting them know what your insurance information is, we're not talking about that. We're talking about, these hit and runs may have been a form of vehicular homicide. That's what we're talking about. It's that serious. It's that deep. This is where we are in the game right now, y'all. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? But where do we say that? Where would you say that this is coming from? Where is this energy coming from, in your opinion? I know one thing. I'm killing Blog Talk. They're not getting no money from it. The Blog Talk era is over. The Blog Talk era is over. I'm telling y'all, because this is a whole mess. The Blog Talk era has officially ended for the Daily Go Getimism and the Urban Therapy with Sun show. That money will go back. That's going to go back into the bank. You know what I mean? That will pay for other things. I've had it. I don't know what's up with this new phone system that they had, but it keeps hanging up. I don't know what's going on with it. But it's a pain in the ass, and I'm a dead it. Oh, okay. One of my lights went out. I was like, what the hell? What the hell? What the hell? Come on. It quit the fine time to leave me. I'll have to scramble with that later. We'll get with that later. But anyway, where would y'all say that this energy is coming from? See, now you get, because that light is out, we're getting that shadow behind me. I don't like that. Sometimes I wish I wasn't anal about certain things. Stop playing with me. There you go. Sheesh. Stop playing with me. Why are you playing? All right. Where's it coming from? Do you blame the media? Do you feel like the media may be saturating us with too many images of violence? Because unfortunately, and I don't want to get on my conspiracy theory type John today, but unfortunately, the media can have a way of recycling violent acts to make it look like it's going on today when it may not actually be going on in real time and in this very moment. So a lot of those videos that you see on social media aren't time stamped. So you may be looking at a violent act from last year, 2 years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago. You never know. You're seeing it today. You think that's going on today. It might just be a viral video or a video that somebody is trying to get to go viral. It might not even be from this country. I've seen violent videos of shootings and stuff like that. I've seen them from Brazil. I've seen them in Chile. I've seen them in a bunch of South American countries, and it's like one of the thoughts that comes to my mind when I see this kind of stuff is that this is not even just going on in the United States. So whether we are talking about something that happened in 2023 or 2022, 21, 20, 19, 18, it doesn't matter. Gun violence, which we associate with being so prevalent in the United States, is not the only place where you will find a lot of gun violence. And it's obviously not the only place where you will find gun violence in the form of automatic, fully automatic weapons of destruction. What do you call those? What do they call those? Assault rifles and things like that. This is not the only country that employs that stuff. As a matter of fact, well, we know in places like those Middle Eastern countries, the AK-47 and AR-15s and things like that are very, very popular. Maybe even more popular than here. After all, the AK-47 is not an American-made firearm. That's Russian. That was from the USS Aura. The USS Aura. But yeah, with that type of violence going on in other countries, does it make you feel like they're spreading the ball around so it's not just an American thing? Or does that even heighten your anxiety because you're thinking like that, man? Well, what if I want to go on vacation to this place and that place and things like that? Having all this violence around you can affect your ability or your willingness to want to travel, even though it doesn't seem to be that way. Man, I'll say one thing, man. Y'all women, y'all will go anywhere. Y'all will go to Costa Rica. Y'all will go down to Mexico. Y'all will go to the Caribbean. Y'all will go anywhere. It seems, you know. One thing about women, especially black women, I don't know about white women, but black women gonna get their vacation on. They don't care how much money it's gonna cost, how much money they're gonna lose, what their financial condition is gonna be like when they get back. And I'm not saying none of y'all watch the dollar, but you know, like I know black women that do not have the money to go and they go anyway. What y'all know? What y'all know? Carol says, okay. Oh, yeah. Carol says, too much easy access to guns, in my opinion, most illegal. Yeah. So that's a governmental issue. That's a federal issue. If we have this many guns on the street and this much access to guns, then we have to look no farther than the ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Those are federal issues. And you know that thing that we hear about, some of you may have heard about in Chicago, where you've heard rumors of crates of guns being dropped off in Chicago. Brand new guns, clean serial number guns, just dropped off randomly in Chicago. You know that's a real thing. That is a real thing. I've heard testimonials of Chicago gangsters and all that stuff saying, yeah, you thinking that maybe a rival crew has left these crates of guns. We don't have no crates of guns. We got to buy them from somebody. You just randomly see crates of guns neatly placed in the south side of Chicago. Where could that come from? Yeah, that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. So, we've dealt for decades, for centuries, for generations of dealing with the government having covert operations to try to eliminate many of our kind. You know what I mean? Our kind. How much serious is it getting? What kind of techniques are being employed to make this happen again and again and again? What is going on out here? And once again, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist. I don't want to sound like I'm, blaming the white man for everything that happens to us. I don't want to get into all of that. Because most importantly, regardless of who hates us or who wants us gone or whatever, they're not going to get us all gone at the same time. But what are we going to do to improve our condition right here? Who do we have to blame? What can we do in real time to improve our situation to at least feel like we can live? If nothing else, all we want to do right now is live. Survival mode. That's where we are right now. So, Carol says, it's so scary anymore. I don't feel safe driving my car. Carjacking has also picked up. You're right. You are 100% right. She also says, first, I blame the government and, of course, the parents in some cases, and not enough. And I mean, not enough. The parents in some cases are not parenting. It's like they're afraid of their own children. That's true. And what's scary about that is that their children give them something to be afraid of. The children are giving them something to be afraid of. It's almost like we're not dealing with children. We're dealing with young people, but we don't seem to be dealing with children. We seem to be dealing with something else. And speaking of parents, there's no way we can't escape addressing the parenting issue. Yeah. I'm not going to say that the parents are to blame for everything and everyone, but with the age frame of the people who seem to be the most violent out here, these teenagers having multiple murders on their records. By the time they catch a lot of these young people, and I mean young, 14, 15, 16 years old, can you imagine having already eliminated three or four people from this world? Can you imagine that? Like, what's going on in your young mind where that can possibly be okay? And I have to say, even if that's not a parental issue or even a governmental issue. And man, I really don't want to say this, but I can't escape it because I have to be responsible. What about these video games? What about these violent video games? These violent video games, which I'm very guilty of playing every day. Video games like Call of Duty, video games like Grand Theft Auto. You know, nowadays, more than any other generation, it seems to me, it's harder and harder for young people to distinguish between what's real and phony. Before, we only had the TV and the movies to deal with. Other than that, you had to read about violence, comic books, magazines, books. Now, video after video, and now you're interactive. You even have virtual reality. So you are in a game actually simulating shooting guns. The good thing about the video games is that when you shoot and kill somebody in a video game, they resurface, respawn, they get to play again over and over and over again. I'm not sure if today's youth don't understand that, because they seem to show so little respect and value for human life. You would think that they think that you can just do it all over again. They seem to be very desensitized to the impact of the violence, even though they're burying their homies, they're going to their funerals, they're mourning their deaths, but they don't seem to want to do anything to put the guns down. They don't seem to be exploring any other options. It's almost like they have accepted their fate. What are we doing? What are we doing? And you know, we talk so much about the ones who are eliminated. I know so many people, in my whole 50 years prior, I never knew so many people that have been shot before. Male and female now. Yeah, I got shot back in blah blah blah. Yeah, I was dealing with this. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, that's what we working with. And these young boys out here, they be shooting and getting shot, showing they battle skill. Yeah, you know what I mean? I've been hit 7 times. I've been hit 9 times. I've been hit more times than 50 Cent. I'm like 50 Cent out here. Well, 50 Cent made it off of the streets. He made it away from the streets. And all of his shots came from one incident. One measly incident. I'm talking about cats who have been shot on multiple occasions. Not a good look. That's crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. Make sure y'all hit that like button, y'all. Make sure that y'all share the show. Make sure that y'all subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. I'm just trying to bring a little awareness tonight. What's going on, Shirley Cheryl, the world's most precious and greatest pearl in the world? Shirley Cheryl, the world's most precious and greatest pearl in the world. My brother Ansel Jones is in the house. What's going on, my brother Ansel Jones? We missed you around here, my brother. Good to see me some you. Anytime that y'all spend away is way too much time, in our opinion. All right, let me see. Carol says, I grew up watching the Three Stooges, and they were always violent towards each other, poking eyes, hitting, etc. It didn't affect us the way that violence on TV and games do today. We knew that their violence was fake because they never had bruises. I ain't never seen so many people get their eyes poked out, get hit upside the head with frying pans, get smacked, punched, whatever. Never get a bruise, never get a swelling, never get a nothing. So we knew that when we punch somebody in the eye, they got a black eye, or they got a swelling, they got a bruise. You know what I mean? The skin wasn't the same color. Shanae Brown, how you sneak in there between? You in there between comments over there. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on through. Good to see me some you. Carol says, all in all, parents can't teach what they don't know. I don't see how a parent doesn't understand violence, though. Man, most of the parents that we know young, old, middle age, doesn't matter. We've all been through periods of abuse, our violent times in our lives. Yeah, if you just think about yourself, there was probably a violent time in your life, a time when you wasn't trying to hear nothing, or a time when you were really on notice in your defense, a time when, you know, it wasn't a good idea to mess around with you, to joke around with you, to poke fun at you. It could have stemmed from a violent act that was perpetrated against you by somebody else at some time. There are a lot of things that could have influenced it, but more than likely, you got past that time. You know, many of us reminisce on the times when we basically had our dukes up all the time, when we were ready to go for it. Well, I order. Well, I order. I'm gonna get you with the southpaw. I'm gonna switch it to the right. So I don't know. So how did those parents not teach their children to put the guns down? Those are not toys. You know, the worst our parents usually taught us was, if somebody hits you, you hit them back. Well, I ain't gonna say the worst because I can't account for every parent. Some parents might have told you, yo, you make sure that they never put their hands on you again. Finish the job. I'll either come get you off a suspension, or I'll come bail you out. But make sure they are discouraged from ever messing with you again. All right, we may have some parents that may have encouraged that. But I guess the question that I'm really asking is, are these parents are these parents fully to blame for what we have out here with these children? Are they to blame? Can they lay claim to a big part of the youth violence that is perpetrated against themselves and to others? You know, we can't, babies having babies can't explain all of this shit. But that, you know, my peoples who lost a son the other day, I'm like, 22 years old. 22 or 23 years old, and they were a twin. Mm-mm. So when we were growing up, some of our parents didn't like us watching wrestling, professional wrestling. You know, because you know how professional wrestling wasn't real, but the violence seemed so violent. You know what I mean? Necks being broken, backs being broken. You know what I mean? Arms, legs being broken. Speaking of which, I watched a documentary. It was called it's called The Dark Side of the, what is it? The Dark Side of the Ring? Yeah, The Dark Side of the Ring. And it's talking about, you know, certain things that happened to professional wrestlers back in the day. And I saw a documentary about Abdullah the Butcher. Y'all may not have heard of Abdullah the Butcher because he was never in the WWE or what was the WWF back in the day. But he was a very, very popular wrestler, like down south, and you know, outside of the WWE, everybody knew him. He was a black dude, and he had a hell of a scary character. It was crazy, but he was known for cutting himself and bleeding and all that stuff. It was an interesting documentary. But when they tell you of how they manufactured so much violent activity. You know, many of our parents probably didn't want us to watch that stuff on TV, and because kids have tried to simulate the types of moves that those wrestlers have done and have really hurt each other, that kind of stuff. But one thing they never talked about was ever, anything ever leading up to guns. It was always professional athlete against professional athletes. They didn't have entourages where you hear about this person getting shot and this person getting shot at. We didn't get that part. And so Jones says, I was raised with respect for others. These parents want to be friends. They want to be friends with their kids. Carol says, yes, Omar, they're getting younger every day. Children with access to guns in the home shooting, siblings accidentally. A lot of this shit going on. She also says Chicago isn't the only city where guns are being put in randomly. They're not. But Chicago was one of those cities that didn't need the last thing they needed was another gun on the streets. That's the last. Chicago has always been a very, very violent city. If you don't know about the Chi, you got to learn about the Chi. The same gangs that they had 50, 60 years ago are still in effect today. The Black Spades, the Gangster Disciples, the Vice Lords. Finally got it. The Vice Lords are the ones I can never remember that. Vice Lords, and they have a heavy Latin King presence too. Like Chicago has always believed in that gang violence. I don't know if that comes from the Italian gangsters with the whole Al Capone days and all that kind of stuff, but Chicago has always been dirty with the gangs. They don't need another gang like them. They come from the Tommy gun era. Shoot them up, bang bang. Whew. TK right says the parents that are trying to be friends first are to blame. Okay. Carol says dating all the way back to the gangsters of Al Capone. Yeah. Chicago, they don't need no gangs in Chicago. Chicago is, that's like the New York of the Midwest. But as far as I'm concerned, they could give New York a run for their money. 3 million people in Chicago. We ain't talking about no small city. We ain't talking about Detroit. Detroit has always been violent, but Detroit has never been big. Not real big. That's big enough. It's a major city, that's for sure. But like Philly was the 4th largest city with 2 million people back in the day. I think we've been moved back to like 6 or 7. We not 5th. We've been lost that. So this cat. Yeah, I'm finessing the cat right now. Since we talking about violence, you can stop the violence right here and give some love. Furball, get out of here. Sheesh. So yeah. So Um, the media has a lot to do with it. The government has a lot to do with it. Parenting has a lot to do with it. But I think somewhere along the line, we have to take a look at the people who are doing it. We have to take a closer look on their side of it and find out what is going on in their lives that would even foster these things. I get a lot of information about the drill music scene in Philadelphia. Now, from what I understand, drill music came from Chicago. And if you don't know what drill music is rap music that centers upon talking about violent acts, mainly murders that have been committed to rival gangs, rival crews, rival neighborhoods. And they are actually talking about how the murders went down and who did it. And they don't even seem to care that the feds are listening, the local police are listening, arrests are being made. They are doing this shit and they're talking about it. And I guess they think that because they wear hoods or fake masks in the videos, whatever, that the cops can't figure it out. Many of the murders that they're talking about are caught on surveillance cameras. They don't care. They don't even seem to care about getting caught. So where we used to say the bad boys move in silence, no, bad boys move right on the internet nowadays. You know, the youth of today think that everything they do has to go on the internet. Everything that they do has to be publicized. Everything that they do has to be advertised. So I'm looking at the drill music scene in Philadelphia. And by the way, the songs suck. The songs suck because they're really only making the records with weak promotion. And here is the crazy part. The people who make these videos, the rappers who make these videos, are sometimes the actual rappers who did the crime. And we're not talking about just crimes. We're not talking about somebody who got shot or got hurt. We're talking about somebody who got shot and who got killed. That's what I want to make that perfectly clear when we talk about this drill music thing. They are talking about people who are no longer here to defend themselves. A popular up and coming rapper. 2 rappers have been shot in the past 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, Gilly the Kid of Major Figures, his son, who was a drill rapper, was murdered. And then last week, another up and coming Philly rapper, who I believe was associated with the drill scene, he was killed. So they don't live long and they don't even expect to. It's crazy out here. It's crazy. It's crazy. And they seem to be mentally prepared for this kind of mess. Like they know they're going to get their chance to be hurt, to be eliminated. And they just seem to have accepted their fate. So where is the accountability for them? Because we can blame their parents, and we can blame their teachers, and we can blame the schools, and we can blame the cops, and we can. None of these things seem to be fixing anything when we make adjustments to them. We make adjustments to parenting. We make adjustments to policing. We make adjustments to our school system, our teaching. We do outreach programs. We're trying to reach these youths and give them something to do you know, give them job training, educational training, things like that. There are things that people are doing out here. There are things that organizations are doing. There are things that individuals are doing, and none of them seem to be making an impact. Increasing police presence doesn't seem to be working. These cats don't even seem to care about shooting at a police officer. They don't care. They don't care. Lawlessness, lawlessness, recklessness. I was a question that had come to my mind yesterday, and it made me look up something because I've long said on this show, and it's been proven by research that poverty and lack of education normally brings about violent crime. Because when you are uneducated and you are broke, the lack of education limits your resources and access to better living conditions, access to better ways to escape poverty. And the poverty itself puts you in a dire situation, in a desperate situation to try to eat, to try to live, to try to just have food and shelter and to procreate. So you put the two together, lack of education and poverty, and you normally get a bunch of desperados. And the reason that made me think of it was because I wanted to see if the cowboys out in the Wild West back in the day, they were very violent. Duels, bank robberies. They was always robbing banks. You know, Wyatt Earp, Frank and Jesse James, um, uh, Billy the Kid. Violence, violence, violence. And so I looked up to see if the cowboys back in the day had any education, and they didn't. Very little education. They were field hands, they were cattle hands. So they knew how to raise cattle. They were cowboys, literally, but they were not. Many of them were illiterate. They couldn't read and write, which made sense of why they were robbing banks, drinking in saloons, and acting a straight fool. The Wild Wild West. They called it the Wild West for a reason. But in none of those movies have we ever seen chronicled that these cats were wild because of their lack of education and their impoverished situation. I don't remember seeing that part in any of these well-dressed cowboy movies starring John Wayne, starring Kirk Douglas, and starring none of these motherfuckers. I ain't never heard in any of these movies that it was explained that, well, yeah, I only went to school up until third or fourth grade before I had to start trying to make a living because my mom or my daddy wasn't there, or they passed away, or they caught a disease and didn't make. There were a lot of reasons that these cowboys had to be out there on their own. And I tell you something else. With there being so much prostitution out there, another thing we never saw in the movies or that I ever see highlighted on any of the stories that I've heard about the Wild Wild West is high incidences of venereal diseases back in the day. You ain't gonna tell me that with all that fucking and none of that birth control that they wasn't shooting and burning. Shooting and burning. Blah, 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 blah. Ah! But we never see none of that stuff in the movies, and they never glamorized or chronicled any of that kind of stuff. They never said anything about this stuff. So some of the things you have to question and start to figure out. And once you start asking those questions, you start coming up with those answers, you start arriving at many of those conclusions, then it starts to tell you that maybe that much hasn't changed over the years. So why does it seem so much stronger? Well, one of the reasons is because of these. You can just go on your phone and you can see it right there, living color, in video. At no other era in our lives have we been able to do it. Have we been able to do this like we are able to do it now? We are totally able to do it now. And it doesn't seem to be helping us a lot. But it is definitely adding to the anxiety that we may be feeling about just going out or having our children going out. All right, we got to get on up out of here, y'all. We gotta. But before I get out of here, I just want to ask y'all one question, because I was going to leave these cats out of this, but what the hell? I gotta ask. These end of the world theorists, is this evidence of the end of the world? Are we in our last days the way that the end of the world theorists and our religious people, our religious extremists say? Are we getting evidence of the book of Revelations in the Bible? Are we living in our last days? Are we, I heard it said the other day that we will not see another generation. This is it. I'm like, wait for it. But I can't say that I'm right. I can't say that they're wrong. I can say that they've been wrong. Carol says, a lot of kids today are suffering in ways they can't express, so they act out in order to get respect, and they think they are invincible. Street cred. I do know. And so says, at Carol, street cred has to be worse now that you can see what happens in real time. And Carol says, so glad my husband is retired. I couldn't sleep when he was working. I would be crazy as F nowadays. She also says, we have people, adults and teens, who don't want to work. Generational welfare. Shaking my damn head. Mm-hmm. She also says, got to be at work at 5. Love y'all, but I need to get some rest. Peace. I feel you. Appreciate you. Let's do these birthday shout outs and get on up out of here. We have some birthday shout outs to do. Some people were born on this glorious July 31st, last day of July. July 31st, last day of July 31st, last day. July, last day. What? And they deserve to be acknowledged. So let's go about our business of acknowledging them and making them feel special because they are special because they are special because they are SPECIAL. They get the RESPECT. They are SPECIAL. They get the RESPECT. They are SPECIAL. They get the RESPECT. They get number one out the box. Teron Harris turning 60 years old today. Is Cecilia Lesman, happy birthday to you. And Algina Johnson, happy birthday to you. And Naomi Bly, turning 34 years old today, and Cheryl Newton turning 53 years old today, and George's Rosanna. Happy birthday to you, and Wanda Walker. Happy birthday to you, and my girl, Doris Williams. My girl, Doris Williams, go get a happy birthday to you. And last but not least, my brother going all the way back to the 1991 Penn State stand up, Zachary Marcus Cesar Harris. Zachary Harris to us. I want to say happy birthday to all of y'all. And I hope that today finds you all in good health, happiness, mind, body, soul, and spirit. And it goes out to each and every person out there born on this glorious July 31st, anywhere out there in the world, worldwide, internationally, and universally. All of y'all go ahead and turn up. But don't turn up too loud. Just turn up loud enough so everybody can hear you. Rock out, rock on it, do the damn, the rock out, rock on it, do the damn, rock out, rock on it, do the damn thing, you do your thing. Y'all represent the queens and kings, you do your thing, y'all. Represent the queens and kings. First of all, tomorrow kicks off, real Leo times. So, just saying, these residual, Cancerian Leos, what I mean? Now it's time for the real. It's about to get real. But I'll say, a king is a king. A king is a king. All right. The violence that's going on out here, man, we got to do something about this violence. It's too violent. I don't know whether we blame the parents, whether we blame the government, whether we blame the police, whether we blame the teachers and the mentors and the coaches, whether we blame the people perpetrating the violence themselves. We all have someone to blame, and there's plenty of blame to go around. But regardless of who we blame, who are we going to be able to hold accountable that will actually be able to improve this situation? Is there something that we can plug in or something that needs to be unplugged in the immediate sense that we can fix it? And that's what we have to determine. That's what we have to find out. That is our greatest challenge right now. So we can point the finger at whoever we want to point the finger at. Can we unplug this thing and fix it? And can we plug something in and fix it? That's what I want to know. Can you help me? Can you dig it? Man, peace to all my day ones, my everydays, and my brand news. I love y'all to death, resuscitate y'all, and love y'all right back to life. We will be back tomorrow night for another Daily Go-Getimism show. So, you know. I want to thank y'all for coming through. Ooh. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure that y'all share the show. Make sure that y'all subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel. So, for my YouTubers, you know just how we do. But thanks for coming on through. See you on the other side, my boobers. 1, 2, on the other side, my boobers. Appreciate you on the side, my boobers. Peace. Yeah.